Welcome to this in-depth exploration of Carl Gustav Jung's seminal work, Aion, Researches into the Phenomenology of the Self. This book is one of Jung's most profound and complex contributions to analytical psychology, and it centers on the psychological development of the individual in relation to the archetype of the self. First published in 1951 as part of Jung's collected works, Aion goes far beyond clinical observations. It is an ambitious psychological and symbolic commentary on the transformation of the Western psyche, particularly through the symbols of Christianity, astrology, mythology, and alchemy. At its core, Aion is an extended meditation on the process of individuation, the confrontation with the shadow, and the mysterious emergence of the self, especially in times of historical transition. The word Aion itself is of Greek origin, meaning age or aeon, a reference to both time and cosmic cycles. Jung uses the term to point to the changing psychic landscape of humanity across centuries. He sees our age, the one, emerging after the Christian era, as a time in which the archetype of the self is rising into consciousness in new and often chaotic ways. In the first half of the book, Jung carefully analyzes the Christian symbol of Christ as a representation of the self, an archetype of wholeness that expresses both the divine and human nature, the union of opposites. Yet Jung is quick to point out that the traditional Christian emphasis on light, goodness, and moral perfection has dangerously repressed its counterpart, the shadow. He writes, "The psychological concept of the self includes the ego, but also the shadow and the unconscious. The self is a totality, including opposites." Aion begins by confronting the Christian age's central psychological challenge, the rejection of the shadow. By identifying the self solely with light and virtue, the Western psyche externalized and projected its dark side onto others, heretics, pagans, enemies, and later, political scapegoats. Jung warns that what is not integrated in the psyche returns in destructive forms. One does not become enlightened, he writes, by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In this, Aion is not just a theological or historical work, it is a guide for our own time. Jung's message is that unless we confront and integrate the disowned parts of ourselves, our aggression, envy, pride, and fear, they will dominate us unconsciously. One of the most famous parts of Aion is Jung's detailed examination of the shadow, the anima and animus, and the self. These are not just theoretical constructs. They are lived experiences that emerge in dreams, projections, conflicts, and crises. The shadow represents all that the ego refuses to see in itself. The anima and animus are personifications of the contrasexual aspects of the psyche, the feminine in men, the masculine in women. The self is the central archetype of wholeness, which manifests in symbols such as mandalas, divine figures, or the inner guide. Jung argues that the path of individuation, the psychological task of the second half of life, involves consciously encountering and integrating these figures. What makes Aion particularly unique is Jung's integration of astrology and myth into depth psychology. He famously links the historical transition from the Age of Pisces to the Age of Aquarius with a profound shift in collective consciousness. The fish, he notes, is both an early Christian symbol and the zodiacal sign of Pisces. In his view, the Piscean age emphasized duality, good and evil, God and Satan, spirit and body, whereas the Aquarian age demands a new synthesis. He writes, "The new age will present us with problems which can only be solved through a wider and deeper understanding of the human psyche." Jung is not making astrological predictions, but symbolic observations. The myths we live by shape the way we experience ourselves and the world. In this sense, Aion is deeply prophetic. Throughout the book, Jung returns to the idea that symbols, from religion, myth, and alchemy, are spontaneous expressions of the collective unconscious. They are not arbitrary. They arise to guide the psyche through transformation. In dreams, visions, and inner experiences, symbols of the self may appear as wise old men, cosmic animals, sacred marriages, or even crucifixions. These images should not be dismissed as mere fantasy. They are the psyche's way of moving toward healing. Jung insists that only by taking these inner images seriously can we begin the process of individuation. The self, he says, is not only the center, but also the whole circumference which embraces consciousness and the unconscious. It is the center of this totality. Aion is not an easy book. It challenges modern rationality, questions religious dogma, and invites the reader to go inward, beyond the ego, into the symbolic and archetypal depths. But in doing so, it offers a roadmap to those who feel lost in an age of fragmentation. It asks us to face the uncomfortable truth that we are not whole as long as we deny our inner opposites. Jung's goal was not to promote a new belief system, but to help modern individuals reestablish a living relationship with the self, the archetype of meaning, order, and transformation. In a time of cultural upheaval and existential anxiety, Aion offers the tools to explore the hidden patterns in our personal and collective lives. To read Aion is to enter into a spiritual and psychological laboratory. It is to witness the psyche attempting to heal itself through symbols, images, and myths. As Jung himself writes, we do not become whole by remaining perfect. We become whole by accepting our brokenness. This is the heart of Aion, the journey into the depths of the soul, guided by the timeless wisdom of symbols, and returning not with certainty, but with consciousness. Thank you for watching this exploration. If you find Jung's work as transformative, as we do, please subscribe for more deep journeys into psychology, alchemy, and myth. Until next time, may you walk steadily on the path toward your own inner self.